The top 5 MVP sleepers, according to Mr. Harrison. You're going to start at number 5 in your home state, Texas.
Yeah, I am, actually, and I'm going to write some notes about what you just said there. But Jadeveon Clowney's the first guy that I have here, and this is my underrated MVP. Now, look, how often do defensive players win MVP of the league? Not very often, but I wanted to pick one guy for every team. That's what the article was. And this, to me, was the biggest sleeper. We saw him dominate towards the end of last season. J.J. Watt coming back. I don't think Watt's going to be the same player, not coming off of this injury, these surgeries.
He's listening.
Hey, maybe he can be, but either way, I know this. He's going to command a lot of attention, Willie, which means a lot of openings for this guy who seemed to turn the corner last year.
He did. I love what he did. I just want to see him put back-to-back seasons together.
All right,
Me too.
Let's move along to number 4. And this guy has one heck of a turquoise bolo tie collection, Elliot.
He does. Okay. I certainly don't have it. And I'm from the South.
That's true.
Should. Phillip Rivers is my 4th sleeper MVP candidate. And, you know, to me, the guy has had to do so much on his own. When you have to do so much on your own, you have a better chance of winning MVP. The problem is they had 21 guys going IR last year.
That's not great.
He's throwing to ex-CFL players. That's Tyrell Williams, who, you know, showed some promise, but they've just had too many injuries. But with Hunter Henry, young tight end, they drafted Mike Williams. They drafted offensive line. It's like this draft, they said, you know what? We're going to help our quarterback out, see what he can do.
If Phillip Rivers is a sleeper, he's a sleeping giant.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not going to get anybody by surprise. 6-time Pro Bowl selection. Everybody knows that Rivers has carried this offense on his back since he's been in the league. One of the best. I don't think he's sneaking up on anybody. We call him a sleeper because for the last few years, he hasn't been in contention for the MVP. But if you have some defense and if you have some consistent players, and like you said, injury-free, it's a no-brainer. He could possibly be the MVP, but he's not sneaking up on anybody.
Maybe not.
Well, Phillip Rivers, we know he's a rattlesnake. And another guy who made to slither his way through the grass and sneak into that MVP candidacy, and he would make history doing it, is your next guy at number 3, Elliot.
Yeah, Odell Beckham Jr.
Okay.
You know, look,
That's
to
a good
Willie's
one.
point,
That's a good
is
one.
Odell sneaking up on anybody?
No.
Not in terms of fame. But in terms of MVP, first of all, let's take a look at the Giants. This was a defensive team last year. I don't care how famous Odell Beckham is or Eli Manning. The Giants went to the playoffs because their defense was so good. That's why I think this guy has a chance. With Brandon Marshall there to take a little of the attention off of him, Evan Ingram from the tight end spot, Sterling Shepard from the slot spot. Look, man, this guy could put up nice numbers, and also at some point, the maturity comes through in the mid-20s for a lot of players, Willie, and I think maybe this could be the year for Odell Beckham. And you know, he hasn't been happy about his contract. Maybe that'll make him play better.
Yeah, definitely motivating, and one of the best players, not just receivers in the league, but when you say Evan Ingram and you talk about Brandon Marshall, I think that takes a little away some of the balls, some of the catches away, because now he was the guy that you had to go to. Now you don't have to, so some of that gets spread around. So a little even
out there?
Yeah, a little even out there.
So you like Rivers better, is what you're saying?
Well, just a little bit more.
A little professional push and pull, a little
just
give
a little
and take
bit more.
here.
It's hard to go against Odell Beckham Jr.
That's what we do, guys, and that's why OBJ's in the middle of the pack at number 3. Now, number 2, Elliot, dwells in the desert.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a saying that the rising tide raises all boats, okay?
It's a tremendous statement.
With David Johnson, the numbers are already there. He did everything you could do. I mean, he led the league in scrimmage yards. He had 100 yards from scrimmage in every single game until the last one, and that's the one he got hurt. They pulled him from the game, a blowout win over the Rams. But the Cardinals weren't good. If this team returns to being an NFC contender like they were, why couldn't a running back win the MVP? It's been a minute since that's happened. Adrian Peterson in 2012. I think David Johnson is a sleeper candidate, but a worthy one.
You didn't even mention the 80 receptions for almost 900 yards. I mean,
it's mentioned scrimmage yards.
20 touchdowns, you know, total. And this guy was in the conversation last year for MVP. So, again, I think you mentioned team success is probably going to warrant individual success, but this guy is right there. He was in the conversation when you talk about offensive players. He's a good one. Another guy I want to slide in there, though, if you're talking, I want to go back to the receiver. Why don't we ever mention one of the most consistent receivers in the league on one of the best teams? Antonio Brown.
Yes. Agreed.
His numbers, his touchdowns, his production, no matter what system, no matter who's at quarterback, this guy is always one of the best in the league. Why don't we ever mention one of the pound for pound, the most hardworking guy in the league? Why is he not?
I agree with you, man. I mean, 2 years ago when Landry Jones and Mike Vick were throwing him the ball in 2015, I thought he could have been MVP. But I think you'll like where I'm going with this. I don't consider Antonio Brown a sleeper, probably because I pump him up all the time.
Right.
Maybe I should. But Julio Jones, if Antonio Brown isn't the best receiver in the game, then Julio Jones is, in my opinion.
Not Odell Beckham. We got. See, it's a lot of guys that can jump in that conversation. AJ Green.
Hey, maybe
there's
even
some
Dez
guys.
Bryant, at some point. But, Julio Jones, to me, why do I have him as a sleeper here? Because Matt Ryan won it last year, right, Cole?
Sure.
It is hard to repeat as MVP. Peyton Manning did it a few years back. Brett Favre did it in the mid-'90s. Joe Montana did it in '89 and '90. But those are 3 guys in the last 28 years. It's hard to do. I think that Kyle Shanahan leaving Atlanta will affect Matt Ryan more than it will Julio Jones because Matt Ryan became elite last year. Julio Jones has been elite now for 3 or 4 years, Willie? So that's my number 1 sleeper.